Thousands of years ago, long before Westerners had visited the shores of Africa, there reigned a great kingdom called Benin. This kingdom was ruled by a great and wise Oba called Oba Oweka. This story tells of an immense darkness spreading across the Oba's beloved kingdom and the journey of two young children who find themselves caught in the middle. Only their courage, smart thinking, and a naughty little monkey named Momo can save them as their decisions change the course of African history forever. Chapter 1. Hide and Seek. Deep in the heart of the Benin Kingdom, in an ancient city hidden far, far away, there lived a boy called Obi and a girl named Titi. Obi was 9 years old and was always getting into trouble. Fortunately for him, Titi was always close by to help get him out. Titi was 11 and the Oba's only daughter, and because of the close relationship between their fathers, Obi and Titi had been brought up to love one another like brother and sister. Unfortunately, on most days you wouldn't think so. Obi's father Jerome was the Oba's greatest warrior. Songs of his bravery were sung throughout the land as his skill and strength were unmatched. Sadly, many years ago, Obi's father had set off on a long, dangerous journey and never returned. It was said that the Oba had sent him to search for the Hidden Temple of Ogiso, but until this very day, nobody had seen or heard from him. Some say he still searches the land for the mysterious temple, while others say the beasts and monsters he once defeated in the afterworld came back to reclaim his soul. Whatever the case may be, he was sorely missed by everyone who knew him, especially his son. One day, after Obi and Titi had finished their chores, they asked for permission to go outside and play. Obi wanted to practice using his catapult. He found it very amusing shooting lizards out of trees as they tried to nod themselves to sleep. Titi wanted to collect spiders. She had found over 25 different types so far and had made a little box for them. Unfortunately, she was having trouble making them live happily together, and occasionally one or two would escape. After about an hour of digging and rummaging around in the bushes, Titi started to get a little bored. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" she asked, coming up behind Obi and putting a spider on his neck. Obi jumped, missing his target. "Oh, why did you do that?" "Do what?" she asked, smiling back innocently. Obi turned and stepped towards her. He would punish her for that, but the stick she was casually swinging in front of her made him think twice. "Okay, let's play, but I'm going to hide first," he said, putting away his catapult and getting ready to run. "No, you are not. We're tossed for it," Titi said as she picked up a stone and held it out. "Choose a side." Obi pointed to the rough side and held his breath as Titi threw it high into the air. The stone came down, bounced twice, and finally landed with its rough side up. "Yes!" Obi shouted, doing a little victory dance. "It's my turn." "Go ahead, I don't care. It's impossible for you to hide that big coconut head of yours anyway. I'll find you in no time." Obi was about to reply, but Titi had already closed her eyes and started counting. Obi turned and ran. He'd show her. Today, he was going to find the best hiding place ever. Obi ran as fast as he could down a narrow, overgrown path. He stopped halfway and looked around. If he continued to follow the path, it would lead him into the forbidden forest. To his left was the Ikoba River, which they had also been warned not to venture near. Which way should he go? Obi left the path and headed towards the river as fast as he could. He had to get out of sight before Titi saw him, but once he had reached the river bank, it started to dawn on him that perhaps this was not one of his brightest ideas. The bushes were too small to hide behind and the trees were too big to climb. The only place he could see to hide was in the river itself. Come to think of it, she would never think to look there. Obi slowly waded out into the water, looking for what might be a shallow area to crouch down in. The water was freezing cold, but it was too late to turn back now, as he was sure Titi had already started looking for him. He had reached about a quarter of the way out and was just about to stop when something yanked hard on his leg. He looked down to see what it was, but before he knew it, he was underwater, struggling to catch his breath. Whatever it was dragging him down and fast. Obi kicked and twisted, trying to pull himself free, but it was useless. It was then he remembered what his father used to say. Never panic. Use your head and not your heart. Obi looked down to see what was coiled around his leg. It was then he saw a head and yellow piercing eyes heading straight towards him. As he bent down to try and free his leg, he caught a glimpse of something sticking out of the mud. It looked like a broken crocodile's tooth. Without thinking, he grabbed it and aimed it straight at the creature's head. He could not be sure if he had hit it, but it loosened its grip. He swung at it again, this time directly at the coil around his leg. The creature shrieked, lunging at him with its razor-sharp teeth. Obi only had a split second to move out of his way, and as he did so, he slammed the tooth right into the creature's eye. The coil around Obi's leg loosened. He pulled it off, then started swimming upwards as fast as he could. When he finally broke the surface, he gasped for air frantically. He had escaped, but his problems were not over yet. He needed to get to the riverbank and fast. Unfortunately, this was going to be easier said than done. The Ikoba River was well known for its strong currents, which they say were caused by mame water dancing on a riverbed, praying for fishermen to fall in. Right now, the river was dragging him straight to its center, and he didn't have much energy left. Up ahead, Obi could see a long branch with its leaves dipping in and out of the water. He took a deep breath and swam as fast as he could towards it. Just as he got close, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the branch. Obi screamed as the river wrenched at his bottom half, nearly ripping him in two. With the last bit of energy left in him, he pulled himself out of the water and onto the riverbank. He had made it, but how silly had he been? All the children had been warned about the river and the creatures that lurked below, but most of them believed they were just stories. Now he knew better. Obi looked around. He hadn't realized it, but the river ran straight through the heart of the forbidden forest, so those were two rules he had broken today. He had been dragged so far away from his original spot that he wasn't sure where he was anymore. Obi hated losing hide and seek, but that was not important right now. Getting out of the forbidden forest was. He needed to find his bearings. He needed to find Titi. Reluctantly, he began to call out to Titi, hoping she was close enough by to hear him. As Obi began to move away from the river, he noticed a large clearing with a big mango tree right at its center. If he climbed it, he might be able to see where he was. It wouldn't be too hard as he was a good climber. He took a short run up and jumped onto the first branch, and then onto the second, and then the third. "I'm a champion," he said, praising himself and doing his little dance. He hadn't realized it, but his feet were still a little wet, and as he stretched out his hand to grab the next branch, he slipped. "Pride always comes before a fall," he remembered Titi saying in her sarcastic voice as he desperately tried to regain his balance, but it was too late. Obi slowly fell backwards and watched the blue skies and trees go by him as he headed faster and faster towards the ground.